Hey everybody, it's Tuesday. That you know what we're here for. It's Longhorn Confidential, our weekly look at the Longhorns and what's going on with this football team that y'all have loved and rooted for, and I know sometimes hated maybe over the past years. But Cedric Golden, Kirk Bohls, Danny Davis with the Statesman. Um, I don't want to dwell too much about the West Virginia game because we're the only reason people are here tuning in is to talk about OU. But I did want to touch on one thing in this past weekend's game, which was a 38-20 win by Texas. In the second half, there was a pretty somber moment. CJ Donaldson, a freshman running back for West Virginia, ended up getting a pretty severe concussion, was on the turf being tended to for what seemed like an eternity. Had to be carted off the field. Afterwards, we did get good news. He's able to fly back with his teammates. West Virginia was very complimentary of the Texas training staff and how everyone kind of acted. I know the West Virginia fans are pretty appreciative of how the Texas fans acted with one of theirs down on the field. So a really scary moment. But this kind of came on the heels of a kind of a scary day in college football. We'll talk about Dylan Gabriel in a minute, but he took a pretty big hit in that Oklahoma TCU game. The Oklahoma quarterback. We're only a couple days removed from the Thursday night football game with Tua for the Miami Dolphins. That very very scary moment. Said I know you touched about it a little bit in your nuggets today in the newspaper. You can read them on statesman.com. But this is a violent game. But is it getting too violent? Is this getting tough to watch, or is this just what football is?
It's what it is. It is what it's been, and it's what it's going to be. And I was at a Pop Warner game earlier on Saturday and saw a kid get laid out, and he's 8 years old. And so you wonder where it all stops. But the parents know what they're signing their kids up for, and these grown people in college and pros, they know what they signed up for. Like Sarkeesian said to us on Monday at his availability, it's a beautiful game, but it's very violent. It's very violent, and players are getting bigger, stronger, faster. And no matter what they do to try and safeguard this thing, you're going to see things like Dylan Gabriel and CJ Donaldson, and those things are going to happen. And so the Tua thing, the pros, the pros are supposed to be leading this thing. They're supposed to be setting the example for everybody else. And I think their safeguards are some of the most loosely administered in sports. I mean, Tua never should have even been on that trip to Cincinnati, but there he was starting a football game. So um, I know money is a big driver in that thing. Duck, you remember, and you both remember Sam Ellinger getting blown up against OU. He got blown up, and he's back in that game 5 minutes later. And they said it was a shoulder. No, it was a head injury. He got hit in the head. So people are going to have to be more diligent. But this kind of thing's still going to happen. It's still going to happen.
Yeah, I was at Oklahoma back when Bob Stoops was there. I was there to write about the upcoming game, and Bob Stoops played at Iowa. He was a defensive back, and I said, "How many concussions did you have?" He said five, and then he added that I know of, because back then they give you the fingers. How many fingers? Yeah, okay, you're good. Go back in. Just so many issues there. I mean, adults have to be adults and make the decisions and protect these kids and even NFL players from themselves because they all want to play and they all want to get back on the field. So I think that's something that's just hugely important. As far as eighth graders, I mean, I played when I was in middle school, but I don't really think you should be tackling until eighth or ninth grade. Definitely shouldn't be doing as an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I
Uh,
started in seventh. So I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
imagine playing at age 8. I just couldn't
right.
imagine.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just you got to protect these players from themselves, and you got to put in more safeguards. As you mentioned, Sark mentioned it, Danny, on Monday, and said he had texted Neil Brown, the West Virginia head coach. I reached out to Mike Montoro, their SID, and said CJ Dawson was already improving and doing a lot better. So, and you're right, they were appreciative of all the attention by the UT medical staff and the support from the fans.
Yeah, obviously not a great way to start this podcast, but it was a really big story that came out of the game this past week. And I, implore Texas fans who are more interested in this to look back at Steve's comments both post game and on Monday. Also, Bijan Robinson had some stuff to say about being a running back when he recently spoke with the media too. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the big game, at least in the Austin area. I mean, College Game Day, they're going to Lawrence for TCU Kansas. That's the big game. But
As well they should.
before the season, people are circling, games on their calendar. People thought College Game Day would either be going to the State Fair like they did last year for Texas OU, or that Alabama Texas A&M game. But little lost luster in Dallas. Texas is 3-2. OU also 3-2. Texas 1-1 in conference play. Beat West Virginia last week. Obviously had that Tech loss 2 weeks ago. Oklahoma, however, they lost to Kansas State, which not a terrible loss. Kansas State's good, but last week 55-24 loss to TCU.
Woo.
I don't think any of us has ever seen a Sooner team. I mean, Kirk, man, he's been covering this team for a while, but I definitely was shocked by that score. This is the first time since 1998 that both teams go into this game unranked. We'll just start there. Has this game lost its luster, or is this still a marquee matchup that a lot of people are going to be tuning into at 11 o'clock on ABC?
Gonna still be sold out. The Cotton Bowl's gonna be rocking. It's the biggest event in our state. I know that. Now, will people in LA and New York care? Probably not. It's not for them because neither one of these teams is moving the needle this year. Neither one of these teams going to finish in the CFP. We know that. We already know that, and so I'm excited for us. I'm excited for the Sooners. I'm excited for the Longhorns. But as far as TV ratings, it's probably not going to draw a big number. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. They're both unranked. One of them got blown out last season, and the other one went 5-7 last year and lost to Kansas. So not exactly a marquee matchup on the national scene, but definitely one we're going to be excited to be covering.
No, it's totally lost its national luster. There's no buzz at the Cotton Bowl from anybody outside of these two states. I should caution you, the Big 12, though, is intently interested in this game because they're hoping both teams lose since they're going to the SEC sometime soon. So it's interesting. I'm sure Brett Yormark, the new Big 12 commissioner, will be anywhere near the Cotton Bowl. We haven't seen him yet. I don't know if he's been in any Oklahoma games. I'm sure he'll be at that TCU Kansas game. And
Duck, I don't think
he should.
Bowlesby wasn't at the OU Texas last year.
No, he was at a Baylor game that week.
Yeah,
So they want nothing to do with Texas or OU. And it's so weird too, because Texas and OU want to leave. Big 12 wants them to leave. It's all about dollars, as we know. And until they come up with some agreement there, the Big 12 will be wishing the worst for Texas OU. So I'm sure they're delighted in the league office that they're near the bottom of the standings. Not near, they're in the bottom of the standings, especially OU being 0-2.
Before we look forward, let's look back to last year. Obviously, that last year was Steve Sarkisian's first trip to the Cotton Bowl. Could not have gotten off to a better start. They're up 28-7 in the first half. We all know what happened. Oklahoma rallied, ended up winning 55-48. That was a recurring question on Monday to all the players and to even Steve during his turn at the podium. Kind of their recollections of last year, what went wrong, et cetera, et cetera. My question is, do you think the players have gotten over it? Is that going to be an issue on on Saturday if they get up? They're going to start thinking about last year. Do you think they've kind of flushed that, and maybe this is motivation as opposed to being an anchor?
Go ahead, Doc.
I don't know if we know for sure, guys. I mean, their psyche may still be fragile. I mean, it was just 2 weeks ago in Lubbock, that they couldn't hold on to a 2-touchdown lead. And that was, I don't know, what is about 4 minutes left in that game, Danny? You and I were there. It's like, and you couldn't hold on to that. They scored and for the second week in a row, Texas only had 60 plays on offense. Different than it was in Lubbock. But they only scored 10 points in the second half of these last two games against Tech and West Virginia. So, I think it's kind of always there in the back of your mind until you exercise that out of and get those demons out. You remember that when they were ahead 28-7, the Oklahoma receiver ran out of bounds, not push, and then ran back in bounds, caught a pass, and they score on that
Changed.
drive.
That changed
Huge.
everything.
That was huge. And you could say, well, it was, first quarter, early second quarter, whenever that happened, but that kind of shows you how fragile their psyche is. And even the players in Sark told us yesterday, he said, yeah, we lost our composure. The OU fans are down by the tunnel end where the entrance is. And all of them said kind of that we kind of let the fans affect us a little bit. That's not a strong emotional team, when you're saying that. So that said, I mean, Bijan Robinson had a heck of a day. Xavier Worthy had a heck of a day. Hudson Card and Casey Thompson had a heck of a day. Didn't he have like 5 touchdown passes? And this will be a new experience for Quinn Ewers or Hudson Card. So yeah, I think that's still in the memory bank, guys. And I think if Quinn Ewers plays, he's going to be a little rusty because he hadn't played in 3 games and 3 quarters.
Human nature says that it's going to always be there. It's like a boxer who gets knocked out late. Of course, he's going to remember that when he gets back in the ring, because that team that guy that knocked you out still has one up on you. So until they whoop Oklahoma and walk off that field, there's still going to be some remnants of what happened last season. And I think they're a year more mature. They're saying the right things, but still, they're still a team that doesn't do a good job of closing out wins on the road. 1-6 in their last 7 away from home. And so I think that if they get what they got from Bijan and X-Man this time around, that defense is better. And I don't think that, and this is not the OU team from last year. So I think that they're going to be okay. I don't envision a 28-7 in the first 15 minutes of the game, but I
Maybe.
could see them taking out OU by double digits. I don't think they're going to beat them 55-24 either. Let me put that out there. This is a rivalry game. They will get OU's best shot, and it will not be a blowout. But I still think Texas has the juice to go in there and win by maybe 10 points. I have them winning this game. I'm on the believe train, even though they've lost 4 in a row.
Kirk alluded to it a little bit, and since we're all about drama in the media, let's get a little dramatic. This is a game Texas fans and Oklahoma fans have all had some great quarterbacks play in this game. Texas, you got VY, you got Colt, you got Sam. Obviously, if you're Oklahoma fan, Baker, Kyler, Sam Bradford. I mean, there's a lengthy list on both sides, but we don't really know either team who's going to be the quarterback because there's questions around Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma, and obviously there's questions about Quinn Ewers' health and availability, and whether Hudson Card, after pretty solid last couple of weeks, has earned a right to compete more for this job than maybe at the beginning of the season when Quinn was named the starter. So we'll ask you two, who if you were Steve Sarkisian and you were getting paid those big bucks, who would you start as your starting quarterback? Xavier Worthy is not eligible because we need him to be running routes if you're a Texas fan. But are you going to go with Quinn, the starter at the beginning of the season, or are you going to go with the hot hand, which is Hudson Card?
I'd probably go with Quinn. I mean, I think he will be rusty though. Hudson Card has played well. He played really well. And if they hold on, if Bijan doesn't fumble in Lubbock, maybe Hudson Card's undefeated. Maybe he's the Cooper Rush of college football. Oh, by the way, we left out Peter Gardere, Mr. 4-0 against Oklahoma. So as good as Hudson's played, I think Quinn's your guy, and that's who you hit your wagon to. And so I think if he's ready to go, I'd go with Quinn Ewers. What do you think, Sid?
I'd go with Quinn as well. He's the better quarterback of the two. And even though Hud played well, I said this to you the other day, and you didn't agree with it. But if Hud wants to transfer, because we know that Arch Manning's probably coming, and Quinn will still be here allegedly. HUD has put some nice film out there for a prospective gig somewhere else. So, but with that being said, I still think that Quinn Ewers is the better option if he's ready to go, if he's healthy, if he's 90%. Because no football player midway through the season's 100%. But if he's 90%, he should be ready to go. Yeah, he'll be very rusty, but it's amazing how that rust goes away after a couple of series. And this is a juicy matchup for him. The Oklahoma secondary is porous. They can be had, and Sark loves the vertical game. And if you watch the highlights from that TCU game, oh my God, you got receivers running just unchecked down the field with not an OU defender in sight. So it's the kind of matchup that Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers should be salivating over, because especially with X back, we know that X Worthy is back healthy. We saw the wiggle. He's got the jukes. So yeah, I think if I'm Quinn, I'm like, it's time for me to get back in there.
Who you got, Danny?
I think, if Quinn's healthy, Quinn's the guy you anointed at the beginning of the season, you just roll with that. But I also think you have the luxury of Quinn is not 100%, Hudson can fill the void. There's no reason to rush him back at 75% or whatnot. So I think you have the luxury of going with Hudson, but if you feel that your starting quarterback is healthy, you start him. But you do have that luxury of having a very capable 1B quarterback. Let's flip it around and talk about the defense. As we said, we don't really know what's going going on with Dillon Gabriel as of Wednesday morning at 10:58 a.m. But this Oklahoma offense can score. Or excuse me, or this is Tuesday morning. I have no idea what the day of the week it is. It is this Oklahoma offense is scoring 37 points a game, averaging about 481 yards a game, 481.4 exactly. This Texas defense, really good performance last week against West Virginia. In the fourth quarter, West Virginia did get a couple lengthy drives against them that kind of skewed those numbers. But after that Texas Tech performance the week before, that was a good bounce back. Looked more like that Alabama defense, the defense we saw against Alabama in early September. How do you think this defense performs against Oklahoma? Are they completely back to what we thought they were at the beginning of the season, or are we prone to maybe another hiccup against what could be a pretty good Oklahoma offense?
I'm not saying they're completely back, because what I've seen, people talk about, two late scores at West Virginia. They're a defense that gives up touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They give it up late. They gave it up at Tech. And I know it was garbage time at DKR, but they had some starters in there, and they gave up a couple of late touchdowns against West Virginia. So they're going to have to show that they're able to close out these wins against quality teams. And maybe OU's not quality, but they're still OU, and they still got that mental edge. So they're going to have to play a lot better late. And this offense is only averaging 6 points a game in the fourth quarter. So fourth quarters haven't been really good to Texas. I don't know that this game comes down to that, but I'm going to need to see something more late in these games, or they're going to have to just blow them out. And this series doesn't tell me that this is going to be a blowout. So
Don't you think they played too soft in the second half? They were very conservative, not as aggressive.
That's been the theme all season, Doug, except for Alabama, because they had to be balls to the wall.
Right.
But those other games, it's like he's kind of eased up on the gas. You saw all gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
It's all gas, no brakes for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden you're in cruise control, and you're tapping on that brake every now and then. So they're gonna have to be more aggressive. He's gonna have to coach a full game. There's no such thing as running up a score if you're the Texas Longhorns. There's no such thing as that, because they don't play very well in the fourth quarter.
I think we'll see more intensity for 60 minutes, especially after last year, blowing a 3-touchdown lead after one quarter. So, I don't think Oklahoma's got that defensive front they kind of have over the years, and obviously,
but they'll still play. They're still going to sell out. They're going to play hard.
No, absolutely.
It's going to be an interesting contest. This is their season.
Yeah,
they're 0-2 in conference. This is their season.
But they're going
to have to show up.
You look at OU's defense; they rank 109th in the country in total defense, and against the run, 119th. So, we may see Bijan get the ball 30 times and you try to, assert your will and try to dominate up front. So, I mean, if they've lost four straight to OU, if they can't beat them, when are they going to beat them if they can't beat them this week? I mean, it's time for them to kind of, reverse the tables and, get real.
All right, enough talking about the game. Let's talk about the important stuff. We're going to be on the fairgrounds. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of excitement. First off, Kirk, I don't know what edition of the Red River Showdown this is for you, but this will be my seventh on the beat, and then I did a couple more just helping out when I was on the high school beat. But said I know you've done a few more than that. But what's been your favorite Red River Showdown memory, and also what are you getting when you're on the fairground? What fry food are you looking forward to not only eating but then expensing to the company, making them pay for it?
He always gets the catfish. He always gets some
Floyd's catfish.
I know, and
Yeah.
I'm a corny dog. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I gotta have my Fletcher's corny dog with mustard, Danny, and you know that. So you have that, maybe one brewski. We got to drive back after that, so you got to be a little cautious there. But no, I love that. I love that tradition. The 6-6 tie was one of my favorite games. That one in the Jordan Shipley kickoff return touchdown game. Those were two of my all-time favorite Texas OU games. But I think it's my three favorite events to cover are the Masters, the College World Series, and this game. This football game just stands out above all the rest. What do you got, Sid?
My favorite was 05. Just a great Jamal Charles going for 80 yards for a touchdown. Rod Wright with a scoop and score. Took him 20 minutes to run down that field to score. And that was Texas getting over the OU bugaboo and going on to win a national title. Another one was 98. I think that may have been my first one when I was working at the Tyler paper. Ricky Williams and Damon Parker put on a show that day for OU in Texas, and Ricky ran for like 139 yards and he won the Heisman. So that was I think that was my first one. And so this is probably 2002 to now. So I'm coming up on 25 of them. So those are my two. Food, Floyd's catfish. Gotta get some Floyd's catfish and a Fletcher's corny dog and an adult beverage for that. But just one because I'm driving back to Tyler to see my baby.
You're so young, but you still have some memories, Danny. What's your favorite one?
Well, I think I've only seen one Texas win in this.
Oh my God!
Since I've been on the beat, obviously the Cameron Dicker year. The Texas fans won't like to hear me say this, but I enjoyed seeing Baker finally get one, just because I've obviously known Baker since he was a kid, and he'll always have a soft spot in my heart. I know that's not a universal feeling with the people who are watching this right now or listening to this right now and screaming obscenities, but obviously it's a great game. It's just a lot of pageantry, and it's just a cool environment to be around. It's something that if you're not a Texas or OU fan, something you definitely should check out. I'm a Montana kid, and this is not something. Obviously, Montana State, for my money, is a better rivalry, but it's a different environment and a different feeling, and definitely something cool and a must see if you're a college football fan. But as far as food is concerned, I like to just try stuff out. Obviously, I get the corny dog. I do mine with ketchup, not mustard. I know that's not a popular opinion. My wife will yell at me when I post something on Instagram.
Ketchup, Daniel.
I like to go test out different foods and see what the new fried thing is. I always try the fried pizza, which is always a mistake, and I always make the same mistake every year. But I'll be wandering around the fairground trying some things on before I jump in the car and head back home. But that's gonna be it for us. Obviously, we're gonna have a lot of content throughout the week on statesman.com. getting ready for this game. We're going to be, the three of us will be up in Dallas this weekend. We'll have one of our photographers, Aaron Martinez, will be up there. A couple of our reporters will be up there getting, scenes from around the fairgrounds. Our friends from the Oklahoman will be down helping us out. We'll be poaching some of their content, the great stuff they're working on. So there's going to be lots of good stuff on statesman.com to read. On Second Thought podcast, obviously dropping on Thursday. Y'all want to give us a sneak preview about what's going to go on the podcast this week?
Hot podcast on Thursday. Acclaimed Oklahoman columnist Jenny Carlson is going to drop by, and she's always got the stories. It's going to be great. We're going to have a little bit of nostalgia, and we're going to break down this game. But Jay Carr is must see. You'll definitely enjoy that.
Plus, we got to talk Jimbo and Nick.
Yeah, we do.
Second act.
Yeah, we do.
I'm disappointed that's lost a little bit of its luster, but I'm sure we can get some drama out of that. But that's going to do it for us. We appreciate however you're digesting this, whether you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, listening via wherever you get your podcast from. We do appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you reading all of our stuff on station.com. And we will see you in Dallas. And if not in Dallas, we'll see you here next Tuesday.
Be safe.